My name is Kuehne. I'm here with Neoscience. It's my new company, new meaning about 6-7 years old. This is Kara. Official title is Director of Operations, also known as Work Wife, and she has many, many titles. And so she basically keeps us really organized and afloat as a company. So the topic that we were asked to do was stacking modalities. And then we kind of expanded on this because, Lars says, you guys have this great suite of devices and you guys are very big on teaching people on how these devices work together. Why didn't you talk about that? And so we started putting slides together and we realized, okay, kind of in a weird pickle here, not everybody in the room has our devices. So if I give you a protocol of our devices, that's great, but you don't have them. And if you have similar devices, you get to the topic that I want to address actually, it's the myths, because let me quickly back up. Who in this room has a cryotherapy product currently that they're using? Okay, pretty much everybody. And what about red light therapy? Okay, awesome. That's gonna be, okay, good, yeah.
Yeah, but let's also back up even further. Who are you? What's your background? Why should people in this room trust you, listen to you, and what you have to say today?
Okay, good. Good question. I do have a few familiar faces here that know me, but for those of you who don't, our claim to fame was in 2009. We brought a cryo chamber from Europe to the US and put it in our living room. And basically invited everybody we know to try this weird thing that was running with nitrogen in our house. And that led to us running into people like Kobe Bryant freezing in our living room. And then from there we were introduced to the world of the NBA. We sold the machine to the LA Clippers, and that budget, the money we made in selling a cryo chamber, allowed us to open a retail store. And we started a company called Cryo Healthcare.
Robin, can you talk a little louder?
It's gonna be hard. So we started Cryo Healthcare in about 2010. This is gonna be hard. And actually, as early as 2011, Brad over here ordered a cryo chamber from us, Brad and Alicia, and they were actually the record holder, side note, of 98,000 treatments on a single nitrogen-powered cryo chamber. It's never been done before. Anja might know another machine that has similar results from New York. I think there was one, but this is really the ultimate, cryo. So yeah, and so we had a company, we had multiple retail stores, we invented and trademarked the cryofacial. And then we got into making equipment. So we became a distributor for equipment, and then we realized that the equipment had a lot of problems, so we kept trying to improve it until we eventually said, why are we improving somebody else's product? Why don't we make our own product?
Cool.
Is that summing it up?
Yes, great. Let's get over to slide 3.
So this is our suite of devices that we were gonna talk about in detail, but then I figured if you end up having any of these, we'd rather take you aside in a separate conversation and do that rather than just talking about our stacking. We will get to stacking at some point, but first we want to talk about the industry.
Yeah, what we don't know, we don't know.
Yeah. So Lane's favorite, quote. We don't know what we don't know. So when we bought the cryo chamber back then, the manufacturer told us this machine is minus 140 degrees. And we went inside and it was freezing cold, and we're like, wow, that's 140 degrees. And we told everybody about it, so minus 140 degrees. And then later, Celsius, yeah, so that's minus 220 Fahrenheit, thank you, Lane. And then later we learned it's actually not that, not even remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And speaking of incorrect, how many calories have you guys heard that you can burn in a single cryotherapy session? 800. 1,000. Okay. Robin has some owning up to do.
Yeah. So here's what happened. The same manufacturer that told us the machine is minus 140 gave us a training that was basically a 30-minute education on cryotherapy and says you can burn as many calories in one cryotherapy sessions as in a rigorous workout. So I went to Google and I started searching. How many calories can you burn? I found 300. I found 350, 400, and after lots of searching, I found somebody who claimed 800 calories. Bam! You can burn up to 800 calories in a cryotherapy chamber. That's where that number comes from. Years later, when somebody actually did testing, we estimate it's about 350 over 48 hours because you upregulate your metabolism, which is still very impressive, but it's far from 800. So I have to apologize for that one. But again, based on the information we had, it was not necessarily, untrue. We just use a different reference point.
Mm-hmm. Next slide.
We've never done this, by the way, this slideshow. So this is the first time we're going through this.
Yeah.
Industry is the Wild West. So this kind of brings you back to, before I tell you about how to stack things, you actually need to know what things do. You know, when you purchase a car and the manufacturer says it costs X amount of dollars, has this many horsepower, and whatever else stats it, you can pretty much count on that it's true because there's people checking this and verifying this, right? In the wellness industry, there's really nobody who verifies anything, right? So I can make a claim, and who's going to prove me wrong? I thought minus 140 felt like that machine I was in. It was less than half the actual temperature, right? So, and with cryotherapy, it's actually my biggest pet peeve. We'll get into light therapy. That's where I'm really having a bit of a rub with this topic because, you know, again, we'll get to it. So yeah, and even when it says here FDA approved doesn't mean anything. So we did an FDA approval for a red light device. And the testing the FDA did not once tested the actual output of my device. But if I don't know what comes out of my device, how can I know that it's actually effective, right? I could just write whatever number on this format to submit, and there was no test verifying this. And again, we get to why that is really important. Yeah, the temperature claims. So that is again, that was the minus 140 degrees the manufacturer told us. And I have a quick visual here. Brad knows this picture in and out because he's replaced hundreds of these thermometers over the years. So when you're standing in a cryo with nitrogen, you're standing in this area right here, right? When you take off this divider here, behind it is an opening where nitrogen comes in, and that's where the thermometers are. So you can already, just based on this picture, imagine if the nitrogen comes in there and there's some liquid mixed with the gas hitting the thermometer, it's going to be way colder there than it is where you're standing, right? The second thing is too, your head is out of these cryo chambers, meaning your head's not even cold, your chest is barely cold, your torso is cold, your legs are freezing, right? Because, you know, cold air sinks. So that is one. And so then this is a machine from like 2011 or 12. And then new manufacturers came on the market and they said, well, our machine is actually minus 150, minus 160 degrees. And what they kept doing is they kept taking these thermometers and shoving them deeper and deeper into the machine until they hit liquid nitrogen. And all of a sudden machines are reading 300 degrees. 300 is literally liquid nitrogen. If you got into liquid nitrogen, yeah, no, you know, you've seen Star Wars, right? You know, so. So that's what I said, and people kept competing about this. And then the electric world came about, and we as nitrogen people back in the day said, oh, electric, this doesn't work. That stuff's not even minus 100, that's, you know, it's not effective. So what did the electric guys do? They started using the weather forecast wind chill formula and said, well, the machine might only be minus 30 or 40, but with winds of 200 miles an hour, you know, we're actually minus 200 degrees, right? And so this is basically, you know, so these are temperatures that are, you know, advertised. And why this bothers me is you as a customer have, most of you probably, some of you may know this, most of the people that get into cryotherapy have no idea about this. So when you bought your cryo chamber, and anybody's anybody's welcome to answer this, what were the three main concerns or main criteria you had for buying a cryo chamber? Anybody? Service?
Reliability, and the logistics of my location.
Okay. Didn't expect those, but thank you. So did anybody decide based on temperature when a cryo chamber says it's X amount of degrees? No? Right? Yeah, so it's a big deal, right? Because what else are you going to ask about, right? So you ask about the stats that you're given, because just like you pick a car with a certain horsepower or whatever, you pick a cryo chamber based on price, probably, logistics, yes, cost. Safety. Yeah, safety. But at some point, temperature is a factor.
But is temperature even relevant? And if it isn't fully relevant, what is a measurement that is? What can they rely on?
So that's the thing. So what is the goal of cryotherapy actually? What am I trying to achieve? Anybody want to? Like I'm trying to get you cold and very fast, because your body doesn't care what the temperature around you is, but your skin needs to be cooled. So the brain gets triggered, your hypothalamus gets stimulated, and you have a release of, you know, hormones, anti-inflammatories. So you trigger this response, this fight or flight, because it is freezing cold. But how does your body know it's cold? Because your skin is freezing. So the goal is to get the skin cold. And in the literature it says about you need to get your skin down to about 4 degrees, so roughly freezing point Celsius again. In Fahrenheit, that's like what? 38 Fahrenheit or whatever, 40 Fahrenheit. You get a good treatment. And so I think we should focus much more on the skin temperature, because that's a measure you can actually take, and that gives you an end result of what you were trying to do. Because if I go by measuring temperature in the chamber, I would have to have a standard, right? Where do I measure? Where is this thermometer going to be? Nobody has ever seen a thermometer in a cryo chamber dangling down in the middle, right? You don't see them because they are measuring somewhere where it's freezing cold and not where you're standing. So I think the narrative has to change a little bit, because again, I'm trying to create protocols that work, and I want your clients to come, do a treatment, and walk away feeling better. Because if that's not given, your business is done. And again, I think there needs to be some kind of standard. Somebody should start an organization that does this verification thing. I can't do it because obviously I'll be biased, and you're probably not going to make a lot of money, but somebody should please do this. A quick comparison here, if you want to read that really quick. There's also a thing about cooling capacity. And cooling capacity really means if you go into a cryo chamber, this pertains more to electric cryo chambers. If you measure the temperature, it's a point somewhere in the chamber what the temperature is like. But cooling capacity means the ability of the system to cool an object, or in this case, the human body. And the better I do that, the more effective my cryo session can be. And also, if I can repeat this over and over and over again. Because it's great if you have a cryo chamber that can do one freezing cold cryo treatment, and then you open the door, you lose all the heat, you close it, and you're half the temp. And you do it again and again and again, and at some point the cryo is not cold anymore. So another measure that people should consider when you're looking at a cryo chamber is, what is the cooling capacity, and how often can you repeat that? Again, this is something I'm suggesting as an industry standard. I don't know who I'm talking to do this, but I'd love to support this. So, my favorite topic, red light therapy.
Before we get into it, what are your guys, anyone in the audience, 3 factors that you considered when buying a red light product, if you have a red light product? Radiance. Wavelengths. Safety. Power. Okay. Yeah.
All good answers. So, and what else would you ask for, right?
Warranty, customer service.
Thank you. Got this award last night. I'm sure she knew this. And by the way, yeah, your machine is getting fixed today. She's actually doing a service today. So irradiance is a big one. And this is one that rubs me the wrong way, because in a cryo chamber, if somebody comes out and says, this was freezing, and they're shivering, they probably had a pretty good cryo session. It doesn't really matter whether they came, what the machine is in the end. If they come out and saying, oh my God, I'm so freezing, this was crazy, I'm happy with the results, without being very scientific about it. Somebody comes out of your cryo chamber and doesn't even change his face or facial expression, probably going to put him in again. But red light therapy is tricky because you don't have an immediate response. If I put you in a red light bed, it might feel cozy and warm, but how do you know it actually worked? And the truth is you don't, right? So you're relying on the manufacturers to tell you what the irradiance of the bed is. The irradiance is basically the power coming from the light bulb, in this case an LED. And when you buy a red light bed, people usually compare red light beds and they say, okay, how much is it? How many LEDs does it have? And what is the irradiance, the advertised irradiance? And, but how do you know that's actually true, right? You have to rely on, again, the manufacturer, because there's nobody checking this. Here's a fun measurement. So this is our Neo light bed. And I put the LED, this is a light meter, and I put it right on my LED. And look at that number, 181. Might mean nothing to you, but what we actually advertise is 54. So when I put the acrylic back on the bed, and I lay a person on there, the distance it travels from here to here through the acrylic, I lose 130 milliwatts per centimeter squared power. And then so the light dose you're getting is the intensity from the LED over time. But if I measure the intensity here, I get a very different number than at the skin. So now if a manufacturer tells you our bed has 180 milliwatts per centimeter squared, which many companies do, you're going to say, great, there's a formula on our website, or you can find it elsewhere. I only need to do a 5 or 10 minute light session for the person to get the proper dose to get a benefit. And well, if that's not given, then your customers coming to your place, they do the red light therapy over and over and over again, they get no results or minor results, and they're not going to come back. And this is not pitching my light bed to anybody here, but if you have a light bed, I encourage you to have it measured. I could arrange to get you my light meter, but it's very expensive. So we have to figure out how to do that. Jason can possibly do it and travel around. He's one of our main technicians right here in the room. And just measure your device, because once you know what the irradiance of your device really is, and I'm not trying to give manufacturers a hard time or call people out, and believe me, I could. I'm really just trying to see if you have a device, make sure you know your patients or clients get the proper dose. So what is this, Kara? How to actually do that? Okay.
Yeah, just a recap of everything.
So again, I'm not trying to pitch you all our devices. I mean, I'd love for you to buy them, but if you have something, we can help you also make yours better. And if you want to reach out to us and ask questions about how to check your device to make it more effective, we'll gladly help you. Yes?
Do you have your meter here?
I do have my meter here, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you had one of your guys actually at a trade show, sneakily measuring our device, and he was shocked how high our measurement was. But he was using a solar meter, so if you use a solar meter...
No, we know.
No, I'm telling the audience, you can buy a solar meter, but the reading will always be almost twice as high. So if you use a solar meter, and that's what a lot of companies also advertise, like, look at our light bed, it puts out 200 milliwatt, or whatever they say. So then I put that solar meter on the LED, so it's going to read even higher. So you have to have a proper device.
But it's good for an apples to apples if you're putting...
100%, yeah.
Absolute values are garbage, I understand.
Yeah, again, you have to compare apples. It's actually funny that you said apples to apples. So I said the test I would like to do for cryo chambers is suspend an apple in the absolute center of every cryo chamber and freeze it for 3 minutes and measure the temperature of the apple. That would be a fun test to do to compare all the manufacturers. How cool can you get the apple in 3 minutes? That would be the only... Of course, is it a Granny Smith or is it a Fiji? You're going to have to figure that out. They have all different properties. But at least then you can compare apples to apples and say, wow, this system cooled the apple to X degrees in Y.
So 100% support what you're saying.
Yeah,
right now.
thank you.
Totally.
Yeah. And they actually have a good light product.
Thanks, you.
Thank you. So anyway, so we have this meter here if you want to play with it. It's actually right there. So before you can stack any of these things, again, I wanted to just run through, like, you have to know what you're stacking, right? And to make it effective. Because otherwise you do 3 things, maybe 1 or 2 of them have actually no benefit, but because you're doing 3 or 4 things, something worked and the customer feels better. But if you actually do it right, you can get an exponentially better return and better effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now that we're done with the intro, let's get into stacking.
I'm going to make the stacking quick, actually. What is this? Oh, yeah.
Why we value education. We want to equip the business owner ultimately so your clients come back. They get the best results. They keep coming back. Business does well. Yeah.
So here's our famous neuroscience stack. I'm a big fan of it. You can do this with all kinds of other devices. Doesn't have to be ours. If you don't have all 3, combine 2. You all saw Gary Brecker last night talking about, right, photobiomodulation, the light bed, how it affects the mitochondria. The light passes through the cell and forces oxygen into the mitochondria, right, and the Krebs cycle, if you remember all that. So that's step 3. I can make that process more effective if I have more oxygen in the body. So that's where step 2 comes in, is having a source of oxygen. We use a hyperbaric chamber. You could use an EWatt, if you've ever seen those, right? It's a big pillow with oxygen, and you pedal on a bike and you inhale it. There's many things. You can even do breath work if you did, like just to increase a little bit the oxygen concentration of your body. But the first step I love to do, and I think it's the most underrated device, is PEMF. I mean, Pulse Centers is here and they're great. Because if you first do a PEMF session, you're going to improve circulation dramatically and you're going to separate, cluster together blood cells. And when you do that, the blood cells can dock more oxygen, because if I have them all clustered together, right, the docking sites are blocked. So if I first improve your circulation, I get oxygen, I can absorb more oxygen in the next treatment, and I get more oxygen to the tissues where I need it. And now you combine this with light therapy, and bam, you just improved and stacked your light therapy and made it way more effective. So that's like the neuroscience stack. Again, if you don't have a hyperbaric chamber, no problem. Again, even if you just did PMF and light therapy, it's already going to be a benefit. But this is one of our most favorite stacks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if any of you guys here in the audience, whether you have our devices or not, if you want to chat with Robin about putting together a stack with the devices that you do have, given the fact that we have a suite of products, we have a lot of education about the products. If you want him to support you in testing the effectiveness of your product so that you can put together a stack so that you can use that to market to your businesses, you can go to our website, neoscience.com. You can fill out a contact form, put in the little notes that you want to chat with us about stacking.
And it's free. The problem is I thought there's going to be 20 people here. But it's still free. Because I'm assuming 10% are going to do it, so we're going to be okay still.
Yeah.
These are the devices, again, that you can buy. This is all Amazon's famous. I'll send you the links if you want. This is a temperature measurement. I have it also here. I purposely didn't take it out. I was, as a joke, going to give every single person who comes to a booth a free thermometer at this trade show. But I was like, I'm going to get hated by everybody, because then you guys are going to walk around and measure everything. Plus, it was too expensive. Those are actually not that cheap. But that is a thermometer. If you really wanted to know how cold is the air actually in my machine, just for shits and giggles. Because what's really measured is the skin. With that device next to it, $20 on Amazon, a temperature reader. And you can do it while you're in the chamber. Most people read the temperature when you come out of the chamber. It's fine. But your skin is going to warm up within a second. As soon as your blood vessels dilate again and the warm blood rushes towards the surface of the skin, the temperature jumps up. Right? So you would have to get the person immediately or ideally in the chamber and get the temperature. And then the last one is the solar meter we talked about. You'd have to divide it, whatever you read, by 2, but at least it gives you a good idea. Then you can go on our website on neoscience.com under education, and you can plug it into the calculator and see how many minutes should your patients or clients do on your light bed to get a decent dose.
Any questions?
That's it. Yes?
So, I understand stacking. Weirdly enough, I work with NASA. So, what about doing all the things together? Do you have to boom, boom, boom? Or can you do boom?
All at the same time. I mean, there's a company called the Immortal Chamber, right, that tried to combine everything in one. Maybe. I have people use compression boots in a hyperbaric chamber. Why not? I don't think there's enough data that I could draw from. So I like to do them in sequence. But could you do them and combine things? I mean, yeah, at the same time, yeah, you could, I'm sure. But I don't have any data to back it up. I know the individual therapies work, and I like to do them in a certain order. Because just the logic following, it'll make treatments better. And we had also seen, I didn't get to this, so at Cryo Healthcare, when I was owning Cryo Healthcare for 14 years, we had roughly 100 to 150 daily visitors coming through for years. So we have a ton of patients that we got feedback from over the years. So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, or if I talk to you about certain protocols for how many cryo sessions you need for something, is based on our own data, because there's really not readily available data there. I know that Sina is trying to put a lot of stuff together, and Antra is here, right? They're trying to help people with protocols and data, and they have a lot of data. But for the average person right now, if you start Googling, you're not going to find much, So that's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
You did not have cryotherapy in your little stack there. Where would you insert that if you
It's improving circulation, so I do it in the beginning. Whether you do it probably before or after the PMF. I do before you do the oxygen. Yeah, good point.
You gave us the facts and the misconceptions about cryotherapy and the red light. I would like to hear your version of the facts and the misconceptions on the hyperbaric chambers, whether it be medical grade or non-medical.
The whole medical grade is interesting. I mean, even for LEDs, medical grade is funny. What does medical grade LED even mean, right? Is the LED different? Is the light frequency any different? No, it's just somebody tested it for safety, right? FDA said this is medical, they tested it for safety, nobody's going to get hurt from it. For the hyperbaric, I'm not a hyperbaric expert. I just like to use the mild hyperbaric, which is for general wellness, perfectly fine, because you can do it in any setting. There's very little risk and contraindications, bless you. So misconceptions, I think misconception is how many sessions you need. I think that's the biggest one. People think they do hyperbaric once or twice and they're going to be great. You need like 50, 60 sessions for a lot of things, right? So I think a lot of customers understand that. And then if business owners charge $150 for a session, I think most people never ever get a proper hyperbaric protocol because they simply can't afford it, or they don't think so. I think that's the biggest misconception, that you hop in a hyperbaric once or twice and you're like, wow, my life's so different now, and I healed so much faster. You really need a lot of exposure to it. Mm-hmm. I like the 1.5 because if you're in a wellness place and you're not a medical office, there's very little risk that something's going to happen. The patient or client can depressurize anytime. They might feel a bit pressure in their ears, but it's not dangerous. Just like scuba diving, right? If you go down to 5 meters, no problem. But if you go down to 20, 30 meters, you have to come up slow. And so if you have a hyperbaric chamber that's 2.0 atmosphere or even higher, those are much, much better for certain medical conditions, for the brain. We're actually working with an organization called, what's it called again? They just...
Alzheimer's Centers of America.
No, that too, Alzheimer's, but NeuroCatch. And we haven't gotten the device yet, so they actually measure brain cognitive function. It's a very cool thing. We're going to put some stuff on this online soon. And they've done research on hyperbaric chambers for cognitive function, which is really cool. And they got great data that I haven't gotten yet, so I'm going to put it on our website at some point. But anyway, so I think the 1.5 is great for wellness. If you're a medical office, sure. The funny thing is all the beautiful hyperbaric chambers that you see that Gary Brecker has or that Brian Johnson has, they're all not FDA approved. One comes out of Turkey, one comes out of Romania. They look beautiful with their LEDs and so forth. None of them is approved by the FDA. All it takes is one accident, because you probably heard about the hyperbaric chamber from Seacrest exploding, right? An oxygen-filled, medical-grade hyperbaric exploded and killed a 5-year-old kid. And that is one of the most reputable companies in hyperbarics, so nobody knows what happened. Those use oxygen, and that's why if you're not medical, shy away from stuff that you shouldn't be messing with. But the 1.5, I think, is great for wellness. But just your clients have to do enough, so don't make it too expensive. That's my take.
What about where you do the skin temperature when you come out of cryo? Like some people do it, I've gone to a store and they do it at the knee, what?
So that's a funny thing, yeah. So we used to measure, why we used to measure the knee? Because if you're in a cryo chamber with nitrogen, the coldest spot is going to be right over your sock. Now in the electric cryo chambers, it should be anywhere. A lot of people do the core, but your core will be the warmest too, right? Because all your blood goes towards your core to preserve your organs during the cryo session. We have a great illustration, by the way, how cryo works. We can send it to you guys, like a visual guide of what actually happens in the body. It was too complicated to get this in here now. So yeah, you should, if you measure point, I would say I don't like doing it with clients, and I'll tell you why. If a client comes out of your cryo chamber and you measure their skin and you were 2 seconds too late and the temperature reads 65 degrees, they're going to be depressed and say, I had the worst cryo experience in my life today. Even though they were freezing cold a minute ago and happy, but you just ruined their day. But if you get them, and if it comes out and it's like, oh my God, you're at 10 degrees Fahrenheit, they're going to jump for joy. Same treatment, it's just that you got a lower temperature and they're going to be happy. So I don't like to doing it. The reason why we used to measure temperature a lot is some people do 2 treatments back to back. And so I would have you come in, I'd measure your skin temperature on your leg before you go in, and then have you come back out and warm back up to that temperature. Just make sure there's no more redness and put you in a second time. Because with people with severe injuries or chronic pain, we've noticed if you put people in twice, you can get actually tremendously better results. Also, a little hack, if you have a first-time customer come into your cryo place and they don't come out of the chamber saying, oh, this was cold, put them in again. Let them warm up first. The second time they're going to be extremely good because you need that wow effect, because otherwise they're not going to spend their money on cryo, and they probably also didn't really get a full result. You want that endorphin rush, so you want them to make a positive comment when they're coming out, especially first-timers. You're going to have it. When we did this for the first time, we had an 85% return rate. Before that, it was closer to 55. So it tremendously improved the return rate of customers.
Having them do it twice?
Having them do it twice. If they didn't have a positive experience or say anything that we wanted to hear.
Got it.
Well, so I've heard it's like 4 hours or something in between, so that's like, there's so many things, right?
Yeah, again, if somebody shows me a study that is published that is, I wouldn't see why. Of course, can you do it 10 times in a row? At some point, your body is probably not going to respond as much anymore because you're tapped out, but there's really no reason, I had a snowboarding accident. I did cryo several times a day, and I was feeling way better doing it because I was in excruciating pain. So from personal experience, I did cryo probably because I had a cryo business, so I did cryo like 5 times a day. I didn't care. I was like, every time I was like, it's hurting again, back in the machine, over and over and over. I felt better every time, but again, that's anecdotal. But if you measure skin temperature, again, do it fast. Maybe don't even tell them. I don't know. It's a tricky thing. Ideally, you measure it in the chamber, but it's also kind of tricky.
Why is it tricky in the chamber?
In our chamber, I go in with people and, I just shoot them with a laser gun. They could bring the laser gun in, but it's kind of weird. And in the nitrogen chambers, it was getting weird results because of the freezing cold nitrogen gas. But in an electric chamber, you can probably bring in a measurement and test it, yeah.
It'd be good to test yourself.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Going into it on myself.
Yeah.
Just to know.
Yeah.
So you said you had maybe preferred stacking order, or if you had data, wasn't sure on red light and cryotherapy, or red light and infrared sauna. Do you have any preferences or data?
I mean, infrared sauna I always want to do last because you don't want to sweat and go back into a cryo chamber. Just and then for infrared sauna and red light therapy too, just in the interest of cleanliness, I would always do the non-heat first, so the red light therapy. I think sauna and red light bed is not going to matter which order you do it. Again, I don't have any data to back it up, but it shouldn't.
More so with the contrast, the cold and the
yeah.
or the cold and the red light.
Yeah. So some people say you should warm up naturally after the treatment, and if a red light bed has a lot of heat, you should maybe wait. Both in the end improve circulation afterwards, right? And I would probably do the cryo first because you get the release of, again, homocytokines, and then I would go in the red light to improve circulation even more. So I'd probably do the red light after the cryo, cold first. Again, but the world won't end if you do it the other way around, But again, if I had a preference, I would do cold first, followed by something that improves circulation even more after.
Okay. So that doesn't interfere with this. No, you naturally have to do again. I know I'm asking.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's what everybody asks. What am I supposed to do? First, last.
Yeah.
I say, try both ways. But, it's always good to know. Your opinion is cryo first, red light after.
Yeah. I would do the cryo, let them warm up. Don't put them straight on the bed. Just let them warm up naturally because they're going to be back to normal skin temperature in a few minutes. And then there's really no, they're not going to burn another 1,000 calories simply because, once you're back to normal temperature, put them on the red light bed. Perfectly fine. Yeah. I'm learning while I'm standing here.
Question here, Robin?
Yeah.
What about doing EMF and red light simultaneously? Will they still get the max benefit?
Yeah, I mean, in theory it works, but I wouldn't know a device that actually has a strong PMF and red light at the same time, unless you do a PMF and a red light panel from the top. Perfectly fine, why not? Yeah, absolutely. Again, the Immortal Chamber's trying to do it. I'd love to see data from them because they do 5 things in one and they have the coolest looking machine ever. It's $150,000 cool, but it's beautiful. And yeah.
I'm curious if I'm hanging on to some outdated information. Because our customers have been kind of asking us for years, you can freeze before workout or after, and I know you can. But do you personally think one is better than the other? And or does it have to do with, if you're trying to build muscle, you need to do it this way, or does that?
Yeah, some people say if you do cryo after you're inhibiting muscle, right, building muscle. I wouldn't necessarily go immediately after in a cryo chamber, but usually when do you feel the worst after exercises? It's probably the next day, right, or hours later. So I would space it. We had a lot of pro athletes when we worked with the NBA doing the cryo before a game, and they would really like the endorphin rush, and that they felt more flexibility, more mobility, doing the cryo first, and then going straight to extreme sports. That's a cool thing, as opposed to a cold plunge, right? If you come out of cold plunge, you're walking like a mummy, because you're deeply cool. But you can do cryo before and then go straight to exercise. So just anecdotal stories from the NBA world. A lot of the players like to do it before a game.
That's basically what you were already telling her.
Yeah. I mean, again, you are in business longer than almost anybody.
I'm just curious if you did something I didn't.
No.
So I've been hearing a lot about oxygenation and circulation as far as your stacking of your protocols. Do you feel that compression therapy fits inside of this somewhere? And if so, where would you feel that would?
Compression, again, improves circulation, right? And drains fluids. So in this stack, where would I do it? I mean, we've had people do it during the oxygenation. I think it's very loud in my ears, really. Slightly. So I would probably do the compression. I think will make a huge difference. Where I do like to do compressions before something else is if you do IV therapy. And the reason is when you do lymphatic drainage compression, you're getting rid of toxins. And people often ask me, where do the toxins go? Where are you going to pee them out? But if you have all these toxins stuck in your body, if you do a glutathione IV, and I'm not a doctor, by the way, I'm a medical school dropout, but if you do a glutathione IV, for example, if you have less toxins in your body for the glutathione to bind to, it's probably going to be more effective, right? Because you have less stuff to bind to. So I would do lymphatic drainage before an IV. That's actually a really good protocol. We do this with a lot of IV businesses we work with. Put them in the BOA Max 2 for lymphatic drainage for an hour and then do the IV. People always ask me, could you do it at the same time? Yes, but I wouldn't, because again, I want to first flush you and not have you get an IV while you're compressing, your blood vessel, raising blood pressure. So yeah, for the compression, I think it's not critical when you do it, but I think probably at the beginning in the stack somewhere.
Cool. Well done. Any more questions?
Fill out the form on the website and get in touch with us, and we can have one-on-ones.
Just
Yes.
the emphasis of, having done this for so long, that is the one thing we've always struggled with other people around us in the cryo industry making these bold claims, and we have to combat that. And when they come into our place and they're saying, oh, I was told if I do this, I do X, Y, and Z, and it's almost kind of deflating to them because you're saying, that would be great, and if it were that way, then everybody that would do this would be walking out in the best shape of their life.
Yeah.
So we, I think, as an industry, have to continue to listen to folks like Robin that have this data, because we can only listen to our clients, and for us, I'm not doing all these data testing points. I'm just listening to what my clients say to help kind of educate the rest of the the population, the customers, the clients that are coming in here, because we have seen, being in it so long to where all these claims were made at the beginning and people stopped trusting it for a while. There was a lot of people that said, no, that didn't happen. It didn't work like you said it was going to work, or someone says that it was going to work. So that's the best thing, is take things that, like Robin says with the data points, and there's a lot of testing to be done, and just continue to educate your clients. That way it's not setting an expectation that's unachievable for us.
Very true, especially when it comes to weight loss claims. Don't tell people one red light will shrink your body 3 inches. I have yet to see that, because everybody would walk away with swollen ankles because all the lymph fluid would be, it doesn't work. So be careful with those.
So you said in your, the topic would include, if you're considering buying a piece of equipment, what are the important questions you would need to ask when you are trying to make a decision on your couple of favorites, so that they would know, because if someone's trying to sell you something, they're gonna tell you what they want you to know. But as a consumer, you need to ask the questions in the right way. So what would you ask?
For the cryo, I think you can ask the manufacturers for actual temperatures. Odds are it's gonna be a really awkward conversation. I would say for cryo, go in the machine, experiences, see how you feel, how you like it, and then look at the quality of the build and how much you trust the manufacturer. For red light, I would call people out and ask them, can I see an actual light meter reading? Because the cryo is going to be very easy. You go in and you see how you feel, and that's why I don't buy a cryo without ever testing it, please. I tell people, actually, I won't sell my machine without them trying it. Because I don't want somebody to say oh, this is not what I expected, I don't want it. Because it's a lot of work to get it there. And then for red light, honestly, ask him, can I see a third-party testing? Can I test it myself? Would you do a Zoom call and show me you measuring it? And nobody, by the way, will do this, but you should ask for it. And if they don't do it...
We'll do it.
No, we'll do it. We do it all the time. I have pictures of it, videos of it, but I guarantee you, people are not going to want to do it. And if that happens, then you should ask yourself why that is. But if you do have a device, measure it, and we can help you make a better protocol. But yeah, so that's what I would do. Just ask for somebody to show you, not just a spec sheet, because there's nobody testing it for you. You have to kind of take this in your own hands, because there's nobody who's going to really look out for our industry at this point. And even if it says FDA, doesn't often mean anything. That's a whole different topic, by the way. But yeah.
Well, I think it means it's generally regarded as safe.
Yeah.
FDA approval doesn't actually say anything about the efficacy of the treatment.
True, exactly.
It just means the product is regarded as safe.
But I can also get an FDA logo by submitting to the
Paperwork.
FDA without actually having done what I'm supposed to, because they don't actually come and verify. So if somebody has FDA printed everywhere on their website, they probably didn't do it, actually.